RTE is Ireland's state broadcaster and operates very much like the BBC, tends to take the same kind of editorial line on every political and social issue, and broadcasts amazing clips like this. This this is warning people about the Jordan Peterson rabbit hole. You may end up watching Joe Rogan, the Jordan Peterson to Joe Rogan pipeline, and it's really, really funny, so I thought we'd give it a watch.
It was 2016 and my friend had just been diagnosed with cancer. Within 6 weeks he had died, and in that time...
So this is Rob Mulhern, a musician, never heard of him, but okay.
I'd been Googling or YouTubing more so videos on like what can I do to help my friend who's dying and stuff like this. And also videos about self-help because I'd never been through this sort of thing before. And
you came to Jordan Peterson, who's actually a really good source of advice on self-help, who's actually really sensible on the topic. And in fact, I personally wish Jordan Peterson would focus more on this subject because this is truly where he's at his best.
Jordan Peterson appeared in my feed.
Oh no. It's not like he's like a radical or something.
Giving some...
Look at this guy's expression. My God, you found Jordan Peterson online. You must be one of about a dozen. Like millions of people have done the same thing. What is this expression?
Seemingly clean advice and so on. After that, I got served many other videos from some of the most lunatic accounts. A lot of Joe Rogan videos, and a lot of those phony scientists that Joe Rogan has on.
Oh, look at that. That is amazing. So I got a lot of lunatic videos. I'm like, okay, great. I love lunatic videos. Hopefully you got some of mine. But then it's, who did you get? Joe Rogan. Ah, right. Okay. So comedian, commentator, like MMA commentator, you know, like just fairly normal guy from most people's perspective. And he brings on phony scientists. Ah, right. Okay. Why are they phony scientists exactly? Well, the answer is, of course, that the phony scientists don't agree with the science. They don't agree with the consensus. And therefore, they're not really real scientists. Yes, they might have PhDs, they may have published papers, and they may have evidence to back up their claims. But if you considered the institutional voice of the science, which wants you to do things so that it can aggregate more power to itself, have you considered that actually you should stop thinking, citizen? And I mean, look at this guy's face. It's like, wow, I heard something I didn't already agree with because I wasn't already told by the media I was supposed to agree with it. Oh, that must be a phony scientist. Incredible analysis. But this is the kind of thing that the Irish state broadcaster is broadcasting to try and keep normies on the plantation. That's what this is about.
Talking about gender and how trans people don't really exist.
Really, they just said trans people don't really exist. They didn't say that perhaps biological sex is the essence of gender or something like that. They're just like, trans people, never heard of them. Not sure that's a thing. As if there aren't people dressing up in the opposite gender or everywhere. But yeah, no, that I love the descriptiveness of this. It's like, yeah, they were just saying trans people didn't exist. And if there's one thing that modern Ireland can't countenance is the idea of trans people not existing, right? If you don't believe in transgenderism, then you're not a real scientist.
Memes on Facebook, which a lot of them did actually seem innocuous, but they actually weren't. There was subtexts of racism in them that I didn't quite understand.
I love that they have found a literal caveman who stumbled into the modern world and been like, I don't know. Like, they don't believe in my fellow trans cavemen, and there's like memes and they seem innocuous, but I'm sure there's a subtext of racism. I just don't really understand it. I'm just so confused. If only there was a state broadcaster who'd come along and tell me what truth and falsehood was, just to make sure that I only believe one side of the political aisle and not the other. Oh God, I just don't understand.
I was talking so much about this stuff that it was pissing everyone off around me.
Amazing. I mean, you can see how well crafted, well, not well crafted, but how crafted this piece of propaganda is. It's like, look, you'll start realizing that actually there are areas of life that are just verboten when it comes to polite discussion in the kind of Blairite liberal hegemony. And if you start saying these things, people will be like, oh no, that's a weird guy. And you'll be like, yeah, so I think I might be on something here. And they'll be like, oh no, I'm sick of talking about this. No, nobody wants to hang out with you anymore. You'll lose all your friends because you'll talk about things that are true, that are not being spoken about properly in the media. Right. Careful then. Careful. Don't step off the plantation. You don't want your friends to think you're crazy. You don't want to follow fake scientists down the Jordan Peterson self-help rabbit hole. No, sit in the pod, eat the bugs, take the depression medication, and everything will be fine. Trust us.
Mostly women, and I didn't know why.
Women won't like you. You'll never get a date. Like, you can see how transparent the propaganda is.
It felt like a bit of crack, like a
Why does this guy look so gormless?
sport. And I met a load of other people that were in the same headspace that were just constantly bringing up feminism and winding up people for the lols.
I mean, why would anyone have a complaint about feminism? What damage has feminism done to society? What possible argument could you have against feminism? Surely men and women are exactly the same in every way, which is why we need to give women substantive advantages over men and literally hold back men and give things that men have earned to women. I mean, why wouldn't you consider that to be a necessary logical conclusion to the premise that men and women are exactly the same, you bigot? Why would you even care about this? Oh, I don't know. It's so confusing. I need to go back to my cave, says this caveman.
Or to own the libs was the common term at the time. Like,
was the common term at the time, says Grandpa Simpson, fresh out of his cave.
I was quite confused, yeah, because actually I was being served all this stuff, and then
now it's the algorithm. The evil algorithm has promoted things we disagree with. And one local caveman is just like, well, I just don't know. I need to go and talk to RTE and see what real life is actually about.
I was saying it, and then other people were attacking me for it as well. It was affecting my personal relationships in some ways. Not to the point where people were falling out with me, but people would be less interested in talking to me because I was bringing up the same things over and over again.
Right, so there we go. You're gonna socially unpopular. If you go down this road, you don't want that, do you? You know how important it is that your friends don't think as well, because if you start talking to them, they might be like, hey, yeah, that's a good point, actually. Why are they saying this nonsense stuff? And you can see how the dominoes start falling, and that's bad for RTE. That's bad for the ruling liberal elite. That's bad if you start thinking about these things and talking with your friends. And so the purpose of this is say, look, your friends don't want to talk about this. You don't want to think about this. You want to go back to your cave. Go and eat your bug soup. Don't you need to? Isn't there some sort of, highly processed slop that you need to be ingesting about now? I also can't help but notice that when they've got the stock footage of him walking along the street, the place looks like a total shithole. Why is it so graffitied? Why is it so run down? Why does it look so bad? Like, this looks like areas of bloody London.
The thing that made me realise I was going down the wrong path was when I was in the tube in London on the way to a gig.
Speak of the devil, but okay, it's the wrong path. Right, this is the wrong path. Thinking for yourself and not just being a total sheep, that's the wrong path. That might end up with my bug soup getting taken away from me.
And I was sat next to several Muslims. Part of me was terrified of them, like really terrified of them, and I started to wonder, like, what the hell is going on with me? Like, why am I feeling this way? The realization of this was like a weight off my shoulders, actually, because I realized that I'd been wrong, and that I'd been duped, and that I'd been filled with all this fear.
You know what, right? Like, there are something like 50,000 Muslims in the UK on the terror watch list. Like, I'm not saying that every Muslim is someone you have to be afraid of or anything like that. But the point is, there is something different about the community that is something that the state has to try and control. Right now, obviously, don't just be afraid of every Muslim, blah, blah, blah. But this is such a poor caricature of the kind of issue that we're dealing with, right? Because the issue is that there are disproportionate levels of different crimes that come out of different communities. And so this is something that we need to wrangle with. And what this guy's saying is, you know what? I was being irrational on the tube. And it sounds, from his little description here, sure he was. But that means there are no problems. And actually, I need to stop thinking about things and accept that everyone everywhere is exactly the same and completely identical. And there is absolutely no disparity between any kinds of communities. And thank God I can just go back to being asleep, basically.
Filled with all this fear.
I'm not ashamed to dress like a woman because I don't think it's shameful to be a woman. Iggy Pop. Wow, that's such big brain take. Such a big brain take. It's not shameful for a woman to dress like a woman because a woman is a woman. It's like, it's not shameful for me to dress like a fireman, even though I'm not a fireman, because I don't think it's shameful to be a fireman. However, when people are like, hey, there's a fire, can you come put it out? I'm like, no. They're going to be like, why are you dressed like a fireman then? And that's basically what this is.
An image of Iggy Pop wearing a dress, and the quote said, I am not ashamed to dress like a woman because I am not ashamed of women. And that really solidified it to me.
I was like, yeah, I need to go dress like a woman. It's that, is it? That's the thing that wins you over. You're sat there going, yeah, you know what? I will have a gay day, as it says at the bottom there. I actually don't think it's shameful to be a woman. Therefore, men should wear dresses and go into the women's changing rooms. This guy is really one of Ireland's best and brightest, I can see.
Made everything coherent in my head about what femininity is and why you should not hate people who express themselves as the feminine.
Sorry, you saw Iggy Pop in a dress and were like, yeah, that's really solidified my view on what femininity is. It's really made things coherent for me. And yeah, no, we shouldn't hate men who dress up as women and want to go into the women's changing rooms for often slightly suspect reasons. No, that's just femininity, isn't it? That's what femininity is. In fact, it's hard to think of anything more feminine than Iggy Pop in a dress. And therefore, I've decided I'm going back to the liberal plantation. I've decided that RTE are the source of all truth and goodness and knowledge, and I don't need to think about this one step further. That's it. I'm off the planet. I'm never watching a Jordan Peterson video again. I'm never watching Joe Rogan again, because these guys are far right, insane, just mentaloids who think that women are women and men are men, and maybe self-help is good. I don't know. This guy's probably just on antidepressants or something. I
just realized I've been brainwashed by a lot of nonsense online.
Yeah, right. That's right. You're brainwashed by a load of nonsense online. I agree with you. I agree. And Iggy Pop wearing a dress is the essence of femininity. I mean, good point. But it's Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson who are brainwashing you online, bro. That was the issue. It's, again, walking around the shithole being like, yeah, men can wear dresses and be the essence of femininity. Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson are wrong. No, people don't want to talk about any of this. I'm going to just shut the hell up.
Washed by a load of nonsense online. On a human level, I started to realize it was just that hate itself in any form is just wrong. It's bad for you. It's bad.
Right. So now, thinking that objective reality exists and people live within it has been characterized only as hate. That is just hate. And you know what? Hate is wrong. And therefore, thinking about objective reality is wrong. Therefore, thinking that Iggy Pop in a dress is as womanly as any woman who has ever womaned is perfectly reasonable. And you know what? I'm just going to go back to sleep. I'm just going to take off the glasses. I'm just going to be like, no, there's nothing wrong with anything. I'll just let the they live alien ideologues continue to do exactly as they're doing, and I'll do nothing about it. I'll just stop thinking. Thinking's dangerous, I think. Thinking's where the problem comes from. Thinking makes you consider reality, and reality is hate. And so we're just going to go back. We're just going to go back. It's Iggy Pop in a dress or nothing, really.
Bad for everybody, and it just spreads like wildfire.
Why does it spread like wildfire? Why is it thinking, you know what, I think these people are lying to me. I know if I use the evidence in my own eyes, that person is lying to me. Hey, Frank, do you think that person's lying? Frank's like, yeah, that probably is lying. And suddenly it's spreading like wildfire. Get back on the plantation. Honestly, if you're Irish and you're watching this, my God, you know, the BBC, their propaganda is at least more sophisticated than this. This is low rent, low effort, easily debunked nonsense.